Hey guys, this is Buford with Scholarships for Soccer, and today we have a great guest. His name is Joshua McCarty. Um, he coaches U13 through U16 boys and girls. And Josh, if I'm not mistaken, in U13 now, the first year they go full field.
Yes.
Okay, so what kind of
That it
skill?
well,
Oh, go ahead.
that is actually depending on the region and some of the affiliations with the state. I've come across programs where there's still U14 players playing, 9v9 league style games for whatever purposes they see fit. But typically, yes.
Okay, and so kind of that U13 is usually a big transition year.
Yep.
So what kind of skills do you like to see the players have before they get to you playing full field?
Big thing is one of my huge coaching idols is Pep Guardiola. He's got a quote out there that I want players who can dribble. Teaching the passing technique, teaching formations, how to execute angles, the tactical side of the game is, in my opinion, simpler to teach than some of the bare bone technique style when it comes to individual players. So if the player can dribble, is comfortable with the ball on their feet, is comfortable doing moves, isn't afraid to do a move and make a mistake, that's what I want when they get to me, for me to start taking that dribbling, that individual player technique, and starting to round it into more of a team chemistry and introducing the tactical side of executing the game.
Okay, so you got U13 boys and girls. At U13, is there much difference between the boys and the girls?
Yes, actually, typically you see the boys will tend to maybe be physically faster. Um, eventually that does kind of transition out after about a year or two. Speed can be very similar, but then it transitions again. As far as the fundamentals, the basics, the individual development, I haven't noticed a huge difference in players. I mean, I've coached girls that at U13 could do a rainbow on the move, and boys that could do rainbows on the move. And then I've also coached players that a boy could do this, and a girl couldn't execute it as well, and vice versa. So it's really more individual and what the player has experienced coaching wise. If the coach is a quality coach, it doesn't matter boy, girl, whatever. You can teach them as long as they're willing to learn.
Okay. So, at this age, I guess you're getting more into tactics and assuming they have that good foundation that you're talking with on the ball. Um, say you get a U13 team that comes to you and it's their first year full field. What are you trying to teach them through that year to prepare them for going on up the ladder?
The basic introduction of angles. You move up into know zones and how many players should be staggered in lanes and whatnot. That's down the road. So at that U13 age, it's getting them to understand that their field just got significantly larger. And if you try to dribble from 18 to 18, you're going to be dead by halftime. So how do we use this extra space? Still encourage the dribbling, encourage those one-on-one opportunities, encourage those. I'm gonna break this kid's ankle, and we're gonna laugh about it after the game and have a good time. But at the same time, if I get him to recognize that, okay, it's not just me out here. I'm going up against two defenders right now. My outside back's making an overlapping run. What can I do? Move the ball. I've always told players that you don't pass the ball you want to move them to where it's going to best make you successful. So if that's overloading one side and then, bringing it back around and swinging it, great. But at that age, the biggest thing is to get them to understand that this field is not huge. And it's only going to get bigger, when you get to high school, when you get to college, the field does grow.
Okay. Now I know a little bit from experience on the boys' side. Once they get U14, U15, they start growing at different rates. You can have 6-footers out there with 5'4" guys. And how, as a coach, do you deal with the disparity of the physical maturity of the boys?
It's based on a player by player. I had one player that I coached him when he was 13, 14, 15, and then when he was 16, he grew like 3 feet over summer. It was insane. And when he ran, he looked like a giraffe, just out there, just flopping around, like not a graceful giraffe, like a newborn giraffe trying to chase something down. And with those things, I mean, boys and girls both, their bodies are going through so many changes at the time that they don't even understand really what's going on. They're trying to grasp around playing soccer, and what I could do 2 years ago, I can't do anymore because my legs now 2 feet longer. So just constant encouragement about it. Some players, it's all about knowing your players. Some players need that shoulder to lean on. Some players need that drill sergeant mentality to help them through this. It's just knowing your players and helping them adjust. And the ones that are just naturally not going to be, the 6'6" big beast running down the field. The biggest thing I encourage those players is just to increase your soccer IQ. It doesn't matter how big the player is, how strong the player is. That ball's moving fast because you can intellectually move the ball around with your teammates fast. It doesn't matter how big they are if they can't even touch it.
Okay. Now, as as players get into their teens and they start going to tournaments and promotion, relegation, all this type of things, it starts getting a little bit more intense. How do you set the expectations of parents starting out? I know when it gets a little bit more serious, the parents get a little bit more serious.
In my experience, some of the parents are serious at the 4v4 age.
I was one of those, unfortunately.
I thought you said this was going to be an easy interview. I got several family members that I've coached before that are on this Facebook page. No, they've all been great parents. I encourage the intensity from parents, but again, it has a time and a place, just like coaching. You have a player that some players may want dad or mom to help them dissect the game, afterwards. And what can I do better? What did you see? You have a different perspective. And some of the kids just want mom or dad to say, hey, I enjoyed watching you have fun. Coach, say anything I can help you with. And so like a coach has to know his players and how that player needs to be pushed. The parents really need to dig in and understand what their kid needs soccer room. I don't personally enjoy when I hear parents screaming out instruction on the sideline. It's counterproductive. Even if it's what I want.
Yes.
You're not I don't come to your house and tell your kid to clean his plate. You don't come to my field and tell, at the time, my kid to do whatever. I view all my players as adopted children, pretty much. I mean, they're extended family to me. So I'm very, very passionate about what I do, and I understand parents are very passionate about it as well. So, I'm a father of 5 kids, and they play. So I get that. It's real hard for me to, when I'm watching my daughter, it's real hard for me to just zip it and just sit there and watch.
Yeah.
Especially being a coach. Like, I don't know if I would have done that. Maybe you should have done this. But at the end of the day, it's knowing your players and knowing your kids and what's going to best benefit them. If they need that intensity, turn it up a notch, fire away. But they may just need that calm, supportive person in the background saying, "I enjoyed it."
Okay. Now, when they get more toward U16, I know that you notice the difference between the boys and the girls gets a little bigger. And I'm not talking about just physically. I'm talking about mentality, attitudes, and everything. Talk about the difference between boys and girls at at U16 level.
Again, I believe a lot of it comes down to the coaching and how they were brought up in the game. If you're looking at it, the intensity factor, um, that doesn't matter. Boy or girls team, if they were brought up and it's a team of hunters. I mean, they're out there, they're wanting to get it. It doesn't matter which side you're on. Physicality, yeah, there's some difference in the physical side of the game. Honestly, in my opinion, in my experience, I feel like the boys teams, they will rely almost too much on the physicality. They want to get out there and they want to knock that player down. They want to get rough with it. Whereas, again, in my experience, your U16 age female teams, they're not so much looking at the physicality of the game, but they're dissecting it intellectually. It's a more intellectual game where and both games can be beautiful. I mean, they can both be great, well-fought games. That's just kind of the difference. Where the boys' side tends to lean more physical. They rely on their brute strength, and on the women's side, they rely more on intellect. But then again, you can have some boys that are fantastic soccer IQ, great vision, and you can have some girls out there that you don't want to run into in a dark alley. They'll whoop you pretty good. So, but that's just my experience with it.
Okay. So at you coach from U13 to U16. That's kind of like the period right before they're really getting hot and heavy in the recruiting. So, at the end of U16, what do you want what characteristics do you want your players to have to hand them over to, they're in high school now and getting serious about college if they want to play?
Leadership is a big one. I know not everybody's capable of being a leader. That's something that is a true leader. It's rare to find, and they're big shoes to fill, and people aren't comfortable with it. But outside of that, it's just confidence in yourself, confidence in the way you carry yourself, not just on the field but off the field. We see constant messaging and posts about somebody who said something they shouldn't have on social media, and now college recruiters. I don't want nothing to do with that. It's just being intelligent, not just on the field, but making smart decisions. The best thing that to me that kids can do is just continue to love the game and don't focus so much on age. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stress. Don't focus on it as being a bad thing. Everything you do is going to have stress. Doesn't matter your personal life, your work life, whatever. It's finding what you want to do and the stresses you're willing to deal with and how you deal with it. So turn all the negative thoughts are going to go through your mind like, oh, I tripped when I shouldn't have done that. I should have played this ball instead of that. The college recruiter was watching me in a high school tryout. It's done. It's in the past. You're not fixing it unless you learn from it. But just to have that mentality of moving forward. And another thing is there's actually a family member, not my immediate family, but he's a dad of a girl I coached. And I'm stealing his quote. He always he would tell his daughter, who do you want to go to the movies with? And who do you want to be your center back? So sometimes they're not going to be the same person. So if you're that person that's out there and you're wanting to make it big, you're wanting to go to college, or even if to the player making it big is making the JV high school team, then that might be the pinnacle of what they want to reach. And that's fantastic. That needs to be nurtured and taken care of and helped. But you have to surround yourself with like-minded individuals. If you're wanting to go pro, which it's a huge, well, it's very, very, very small margin. But if you're wanting to go pro, you don't need to surround yourself with a team of players at 16 years old that are still chasing butterflies and picking dandelions. That's what that team wants to do, and they're happy doing it. Fantastic, and encourage it and let them love it. But if you're wanting to go big, you need to surround yourself with like-minded individuals.
Okay, and finally, what would you say is your favorite part of coaching kids?
The relationships. Looking back, I still remember several things my coach said to me, good and bad. And that, I want players to feel like it doesn't matter if they're 13 or 33, they can call me. I mean, I'm here to support them, not just on the field. I want them to know that they have somebody in their corner all the time, even when it feels like the world's against them. Remember that old grumpy coach you had 15 years ago, give him a call. He'll help you out or give you a word of encouragement. And it's just fun to watch them grow into, young women, young men, and, tackle life's challenges, because it's not all rainbows and unicorns once you get out into the real world. And for some kids, it's not rainbows and unicorns in their childhood. So just being a supporting figure for them to lean on it.
All right. Well, Joshua, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to educate us about coaching and hopefully make us better parents. And glad you're in the group. And nice to put a name. I can't talk. Nice to put a face with a name. And hopefully we'll talk again very soon.
Exactly. That would be great. Thank you for having me. It's always fun to share the different views that coaches have on soccer. I'm sure there's some coaches on the page that are gonna be like, I don't really agree with that. And there's some things they're gonna say that I'm like, nah, I don't agree with that. So that's the beautiful thing about the game, is it's up for interpretation.
All right. Well, thank you, Joshua.
Yes, thank you.